Well, Kingshuk Nag, he's written one of his many books is The Double Life of Ramalinga Raju. And I was asking him if you have a carbon copy someplace because he does so many things. He's now the editor-in-chief of Cover Street. He was earlier the resident editor of the Times of India in Hyderabad. He's handled editions in Bangalore, in Ahmedabad, in Delhi. And he's also written numerous biographies, political biographies of Narendra Modi, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. But the reason we are talking to him here is because he's written two books, one on Vijay Mallya of Kingfisher and the other on Ramalinga Raju of Satyam. Now, earlier in the day at lunch, Deepak Tandesari, who's there in the second row, was asking me, why do people write so many stories or biographies, good biographies of businessmen, and positive stories? And I told him the simple answer: it's easier to do, positive stories than it is to do negative stories. It's not easy to write about the dark side of business because it's much more difficult to get credible information, interviews, data, and all kinds of other support that you need to get your book published. So Kingshuk will tell us a little bit about, maybe we'll start with Kingshuk. What is it that makes writing on the dark side of business different and possibly more difficult than writing good stories?
I'm sorry, I'm suffering from a little asthma today. So if my delivery is a little stuttered, please pardon me. I'm an accidental writer, and I wrote a biography. I started writing books not because I wanted to write them, because I was invited by publishers to write them. I was based in Hyderabad when the Satyam scam broke, and the publishers in Delhi thought that I'd be the ideal candidate to write the book because I was based in Hyderabad and had observed what was happening in Satyam. So they approached me, and I was game. So that's how I wrote my first book. Thereafter, it's not necessary that I'll write on business. And even when this Vijay Mallya, the day Vijay Mallya decamped from Bangalore, again I got a phone from the publisher. He asked me whether I could do the book. And they thought that I would be in a position to do that book. So I did the book. In between, I have done a lot of non-business books also. Yeah, tell me.
I wanted you to talk about what is it that makes writing on corporate crimes or the dark side of business different or difficult than other kinds of biographies.
When the Satyam scam broke out, everybody was surprised, shocked. They didn't know what's happening. Here is this guy, such a big business tycoon, he's saying that he's filed his accounts and they're all fictitious cash. So the challenge is to figure out what he's saying, what has actually happened, what is the impact on the company, what is the impact on his staff. So it's very challenging. Ultimately, why did he do this? He was claiming that he was this is fictitious cash. But my claim in the book is that he was bitten by he's very feudalistic, Ramalinga Raju. So his main business was land acquisition. His main business was not software and IT. Because after liberalization, government to get all sorts of investment was given all sorts of land to everybody, including IT companies. All of them were making a killing out of it. And Mr. Ramalinga Raju was actually amassing a lot of land across the country. And it was because after he had a lot of investment in land, and after 2008, the world recession, his land values had gone down. So his wealth had gone down. And at that point of time, for some reason, which I will not say publicly, he had he needed the cash. So liquidate the cash. To get that cash, he has to liquidate his land holdings. But his land values had fallen. So he knew that he was in trouble. His debtors will kill him. That's why he confessed. And let me tell you, the book was very interesting because you have to figure out this man who came from West Godavari district, who was not a typical IT guy. He of course went to the US and studied there. He's the first guy who had started this offshoring business. So what was there in his personality that brought this dark side out? And what did he do? And in the, before that I could say, let me add a little bit, let me praise myself a bit. After Mr. Vijay, Mr. Ramalinga Raju was convicted, I got a call from the public prosecutor in the case. He said, sir, this case was very difficult. I didn't know what was happening. Only after I read your book, I realized on what way to proceed on prosecution. But on the other side is that immediately after he was convicted, Ramalinga Raju applied for bail, and High Court gave him bail till pending his appeal. And that appeal is pending and still pending. And he's very much roaming around the city. 4 days ago also I had met him at a party. So that is, and he's back in business, not in his name, but in the name of his daughter-in-law. And I believe he still has a lot of land holdings in Hyderabad.
Yeah, see, reading about all these crimes, corporate white-collar crimes, should be, of course, very interesting. But from the standpoint of a reporter who wants to be objective, we often face this problem of sifting fact from fiction. There's a lot of innuendo, a lot of rumors, many of them unfounded, many of them floated by rivals. How do you go about sifting fact from fiction, myth from reality? I mean, you're not going to get interviews. Did you get interviews with Ramalinga Raju or Vijay Mallya?
But my problem is different. Most of the time I have more information which I know is authenticated, but I can't write it because there's no proof. Also, if I may say, I've worked in a newspaper and been an editor for so many years. And newspapers are big business, so they are more gutsy. Publishers are typically smaller enterprises, and therefore they are very careful. And after I wrote this book on Vijay Mallya also, I had to answer a 50-page legal report from the publisher, which the publisher had got from his legal experts. So in the process, you see, some information has to be sacrificed, which is right, because otherwise Mr. Vijay Mallya and people like him are very prone to bring legal suits. So actually what goes into print and what is published is much less than what you actually know. So it is not a question of saying that I have heard through innuendos and this. I actually have more information here than what is in the book.
I'm sure one question in the minds of people is, people often ask me, do you get threats? I mean, we just, in business journalism, don't get as many threats as maybe political reporters. But when you do these kinds of stories, I'm sure, perhaps you could share some stories about how you dealt with some of the opposition that you may have faced with when you wrote these books.
Actually, I have not faced any opposition, number one. Number one, please proceed in your business in secrecy. Please don't announce on public platforms and say, I am writing these books. Immediately people know now what you are doing. There are two impacts. First, there will be somebody else who is also thinking of writing the book or writing the book. So he will speed up his activities. So first thing is, I am writing this book. Sorry, I am maybe writing 4 books, but I am not going to tell you what I am writing. Only my subjects will slowly know. I shall approach, if I am writing a biography of a person who is approachable also, I will not immediately tell him. And I shall, after I have done a lot of work, when I come to the final stage and really need him, then only I will go to him. Otherwise, sometimes projects can be stymied also. And one case happened in the city of Bangalore. There is a gentleman called Mr. Azim Premji, whom I used to know very well actually. And we used to talk a lot. And in 2011, I ran into him in Rashtrapati Bhavan, because he was getting Padma Vibhushan and I was there also for some reason. So I told him, why don't I do a biography of yours? So he sort of agreed also. Then I started doing some work. And I signed a contract with the publisher also. I took the advance royalties also. And then this gentleman stopped cooperating with me. So ultimately I didn't do his biography. So that is how I failed. So the first thing, 2 people who are writing books, Please don't advertise what you are doing. Do your work. And only let out information on a need-to basis. So, and where is the question of threat? If Ramalinga Raju was that time in jail and Vijay Mallya is running away, what will he threaten you? In fact, my problem is different. The public at large believes, I said the public at large believes, I am not saying that he is, believes that he is a first grade crook. So they expect my book to also reflect that he is a first grade crook. Now if in my book I don't reflect that he is a first grade crook, but then he's got some positive points also. How, don't forget that his Kingfisher brand became a global brand not today, but by the year 2000. If you go to anywhere, you will find Kingfisher brand. So those are his successful parts of his business. You have to write about that also. So, but the reader today will say, why are you writing about Kingfisher? He's a bloody crook. You have taken money from him, because we are in this age of troll and all. No? One chef from a big hotel, Taj Hotel in Goa, went to my Facebook. Why are you writing book on Kingfisher? Oh, he's a very first grade crook. He's stolen away the country. I said, who are you? No. But anybody and everybody has opinion. No? So the threats you are getting from the public domain, not from Vijay Mallya.
That's true. I have encountered situations where I've written stories and you had people from the finance ministry descend on your offices trying to persuade your editor, tell this guy to stop writing. And there was once very small stories, the government comes down very heavily on you. They typically deny your stories even if they are true. And there was the beginning of my career when I was still a trainee, I had a maintenance of internal security act, a MISA warrant against me for writing a story that eventually turned out to be true. So yes, there are all kinds of pressures that you face. But I think it would be a total waste of an opportunity if we do not get some views from Mr. Krishna. I mean, it's a rare honor for us to have such a senior, widely respected industrialist in our presence. I mean, he's been through practically all the good, bad, and the ugly side of Indian business environment. In starting out very, very early when we had the license permit Raj, and then the economic reforms of 91, and then, of course, we went through all the MRTP restrictions. It was difficult to grow a business in those days, but Sundaram Fasteners has always been a darling of the stock markets. I mean, there are stockbrokers in Bombay who would touch anything that is promoted by that group without even looking at the prospectus. That's the kind of immense respect that you enjoy. But sir, meanwhile, I think we could start this. Yeah. Yeah, but I had a question for him, sir. And then we can. Questions together? Yeah. No, I think okay. So let's make this a little more participative. We can start the Q&A session as well, but I thought I'll first.
Sorry. Oh my God. Okay. Yes, I thought it's only proper if I introduce my friend Suresh Krishna properly. But you know, it's always like those paradoxes. You say so-and-so doesn't need any introduction, then you go on to take 45 minutes introducing the same person. So he actually, you know, for the younger generation, he may need introduction because his active life in CII or in the industry as an industry captain probably go back about 15 years and before that. Suresh is, of course, the scion of the TVS family. He's the eldermost member of the group today. He's the chairman of the TVS group. Every company of the TVS group comes under the TVS banner. He's the chairman, but he's also the founder, the promoter, founder, chairman, managing director for since 1967 of Sundaram Fasteners, which, you know, starting from, you know, a capital of some 10 lakh or something, today it's something like a 4,500 crore company. But you know, the other paradox here is after talking about the dark side of business, I suddenly call someone who's a beacon of a group which stands for everything which is ethical about business. In fact, you are very right, Shankar, when you said that, this is a group where in the morning at 7 o'clock outside Sundaram Finance offices for FDs, you will find a kilometer-long queue, for instance. And the mark of TVS is viewed as an ISI mark or better. So Suresh, we'll just ask you to please come here, share your views on this session or any session. It's all yours. 5 to 7 minutes are entirely yours. And then, of course, Shankar may ask you question or others questions. I'll leave it to him. Sorry? No, I think it's shorter. Can it be fixed here?